We need to abolish abortion, no exceptions.
So this says, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And that's from the Bible?
Yeah, from Jeremiah 1. Right. So God knows these babies in the womb. He has a purpose and a destiny for each child. They shouldn't be killed.
Didn't he kill all the firstborn sons in Egypt?
Did you know that nearly 1 in 4 women will have an abortion in their lifetime? Yet, access to safe abortion is still under threat worldwide. Pro-forced birthers claim that banning pregnancy terminations is protecting life, but they don't seem to mind these outcomes caused by their ban. I'll be calling them pro-forced birthers instead of pro-lifers because they're not pro-life. They're hypocrites, and you're about to see how.
You know how we've been hearing from the state of Texas that we have to protect the life of the unborn and that those fetuses have personhood? The state of Texas just stepped on its own tail. A prison guard says she was forced to stay at her post during labor pains. Texas is fighting compensation for her stillbirth. The anti-abortion state is fighting her lawsuit in part by saying her fetus didn't clearly have rights. This story takes place on a November evening. Salia Issa had just begun her shift as an Abilene prison officer, where she felt the intense pain of what she believed was a contraction. She was 7 months pregnant and let her supervisors know. She told them she needed to go to the hospital, but knew the prison policy wouldn't allow her to leave her post until someone could come and replace her. No one came for hours. Issa kept calling for relief, but her supervisor kept telling her that she couldn't leave, and even told her at one point that she was lying. And her supervisor allegedly told her, "You just want to go home." Now, Issa was finally allowed to leave 2.5 hours after the pain started. She drove to a nearby hospital where doctors rushed her into the ER, and after surgery, they were unable to find a fetal heartbeat, and the baby was delivered stillborn. And this is the most heartbreaking part, because the doctor said if she had gotten to the hospital sooner, the baby would have survived. Nearly a year later, Issa and her husband, on behalf of themselves and their unborn child, sued TDCJ and 3 of Issa's supervisors. And their argument is that the state caused the death of their child by violating state and federal laws as well as the U.S. Constitution. And they are seeking money to cover medical costs, funeral expenses, and to compensate for pain and suffering. The state and the prison agency are arguing that they shouldn't be held responsible for the stillbirth because the staff didn't break the law. Plus, they said it's not clear that Issa's fetus had rights as a person. Quote, "Just because several statutes define an individual to include an unborn child does not mean that the 14th Amendment does the same," the Texas Attorney General's office wrote in a March footnote. Now, Texas has insisted for almost 2 decades in legislation passed by lawmakers and defended in the court by the Attorney General's office that unborn children be recognized as people starting at fertilization. Which is it, you pro-lifers? Or I should call you pro-birthers? Because there is nothing about life that you value. You don't even value the clump of cells that you've been arguing about and that you've been taking our rights away for. And we already knew that, but now we have it on record through the pain of Issa and her family. You can't have it both ways. You can't just write legislation to suit your needs and your political agendas, and then when it's time to actually enact it, you know what? We were just kidding about that. We don't actually believe in it either. I had seen a video once, and the person making the video said, if I was to throw a petri dish with a fetus out the window, and a 3-month-old baby, and you were only allowed to rescue one of them, which would it be? And we all know what the answer is going to be, because you would obviously pick the baby that is present here on this planet with a name, with loved ones, with a family, with an opportunity to do something because they are already here. But I don't even know if you would go so far as to protect those babies, because there was a pregnant woman found in the Rio Grande, and she was caught in those buoys with those razor wires, and she had a miscarriage, and none of you pro-lifers cared. You justified the buoys being there.
They clearly don't actually care about human life. They just enforce these laws to oppress women and to keep on rapidly increasing the world population. Unsurprisingly, men face 0 legal consequences for trying to abort a woman's pregnancy.
In case anyone needed further proof that it's never been about the sanctity of anything and entirely about controlling women, meet Mason. Mason's wife was pregnant, and unbeknownst to her, Mason was drugging her with misoprostol, the pill, and he would do it via her drink. So he started by telling her that she wasn't hydrating enough and needed to drink more, and then he would offer her drinks, and she took them because, he's her husband. One day, she got sick after drinking water that he had given her that looked cloudy, and he tried to blame it on faulty pipes, but she got suspicious, and so she started refusing his drinks, and she even installed secret cameras in the house to find out what was happening, and she saw him mixing stuff into her drink. Mason tried to drug her 7 times. She eventually gave birth 10 weeks premature, and the child now has severe developmental delays. She's divorced him, and she filed a lawsuit. That lawsuit concluded last week, and here's the absolute kicker. They live in Texas, okay, which means that if she had taken those pills, she would have received life, but he received only 180 days. And he was charged with assault, not attempted So this Texas court is effectively saying that if a man chooses to end a woman's pregnancy, then it's only if a woman does it.
Even when an abortion is necessary to save the life of the pregnant woman, she's sometimes still not allowed to get the procedure. Once again proving that pro-forced birthers don't actually care about human life, especially when the human in question is a woman. Here's a video by Ariana Jasmine talking about the case of Dorota Lalick that proves exactly that.
Isn't anyone talking about the woman in Poland who died from getting a sepsis infection because the doctors refused to give her a medically necessary abortion, and thousands of people went into the streets protesting this today? Let's talk about it. This is Dorota Lalick. At 20 weeks of pregnancy, her water broke and she went into the hospital. She desperately needed an abortion and the doctors refused to give it to her, and after 3 days of being in the hospital, she died from sepsis. She was only 33 years old. Come to find out, the hospital that she went to is so religious that, based on principle, Polish media reported that they don't ever perform any abortions. Now, within Europe, Poland has some of the strictest anti-abortion laws, and so people by the thousands came out to protest today against these laws.
It's especially sad when I see women who are also anti-abortion, especially straight and bisexual women. It makes no sense because they're most likely to actually need an abortion than anyone else. A lot of people think women who get abortions were reckless, irresponsible, and just didn't use protection, which is sometimes the case. But women also get abortions for other reasons, and one of those reasons are often due to health risks.
Episode of Fuck Around and Find Out, a pro-lifer in Missouri found herself needing an abortion for a medical emergency. She's 41 years old and her water broke at 17 weeks, putting her at great risk of sepsis, losing her uterus, and dying. Her doctors, of course, told her that the pregnancy was unviable and that she needed an abortion. She and her partner were like, "Oh, we can't have an abortion," so they talked with countless other doctors across various states to confirm her pregnancy was non-viable. Her cervix was already open. One doctor even told her, and I quote, "There are things worse than death, and I've seen them." Because of the abortion ban in her state, she called her senator, a Republican named Bill White. His office told her that the abortion ban that was putting her life in danger was actually saving her life. So she told the aide, "It's not protecting my life. It is literally putting my life in danger because there is no chance at all for a baby." So what did the office do? They referred her to a crisis pregnancy center, which are Christian-run organizations that talk people out of getting an abortion. So she had to travel to Illinois to receive her life-saving abortion after walking through a crowd of protesters who screamed that she's a murderer. Even Republican Christian women need abortions because abortion is healthcare.
I'd pay money to see someone go to an anti-abortion protest and ask the pro-forced birthers these questions.
Put a finger down challenge, pro-life edition. Put a finger down if you are willing to adopt a baby someone cannot provide for, and also one of the fully grown kids already in our foster system. Put a finger down if you are willing to designate a portion of your income to provide food, shelter, healthcare, and education to the child you think you're saving. Put a finger down if you are willing to look an elementary age essay victim in the eye and say, "Congrats on becoming a new mommy." Put a finger down if you proved your pro-lifeness by voluntarily wearing a mask, getting a vaccine, or offering up a school shooting solution that wasn't just thoughts and prayers. Put a finger down if you believe that the Bible is the one true word of God, except for that part about life beginning at first breath. If you still have any fingers up, congratulations! You still have at least one digit left to flush with because you are full of shit.
And aside from all the scientific reasons of why abortion is not in fact quote-unquote murder, even religious texts prove that it's not.
God is actually pro-choice. Not only does the Talmud, which is Jewish text and law, which, to those of you who do not know, Judaism is the religion that Christianity was founded upon. Jesus would have been Jewish. Jesus was a rabbi. The Talmud prioritizes the life of the mother. The Bible says that life begins when you take your first breath, when the breath of life is breathed into you. Early biblical law also dictates that the punishment for two people getting into a brawl and causing a pregnant person to lose the fetus is a fine. But if people get into a brawl or fight and the pregnant person dies, then the cost of that is life for a life. But even if we ignore how utterly disrespectful it is to disregard the laws, traditions, and beliefs of the religion that Christianity was appropriated from, God gave human beings free will for a reason. Did he not? Y'all are always going on and on about how God cannot be evil because he does not intervene in things, because if he intervened, that would affect our free will. So what are you pro-lifers, or we should more accurately call y'all forced birthers, really screaming about here? If God, the creator of all things, won't even make my choices for me, what gives you the authority to believe that you should be imposing your beliefs and your opinions on choices someone should make onto them? It is an awful lot of blasphemous arrogance that modern Christians find themselves in, replacing their own image with that of the divine.
There's something so innocent and pure about this little thing. You just want to protect it.
Should abortion be legal?
Absolutely not.
No, not in any scenario?
No.
What if they're too poor to raise it?
No.
What if they're a minor?
No, it's still murder.
What if you were married and you got another woman pregnant?